Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. We bought this. It's the all-new Flex FX1472. Their Gen 2 half-inch high torque that came out this week. Because Milwaukee isn't yet shipping the new M12 stubby to people who bought them, including us, so we're going to, of course, dyno test this new guy, take it apart to spot some cool differences, and rank it on our leaderboards. And as much as some of its hard-to-believe specs are knocking on the door of this guy, the big boy DeWalt DCF961, the size of a dorm room trash can, it seems obvious upon unpacking this new guy, its sights are instead on old Big Red. For one, it's smaller than we expected. Having bought and tested Flex's Gen 1, 1150 foot-pound high torque on debut, that thing is not compact. This new one, we expected, even from pictures, it might be more gravitationally gifted, but it's both noticeably shorter and even weighs a half-pound less with or without a battery than the first one. Now, I'm sure they've been working on this a while before Milwaukee's new 2967 Gen 3 high torque came out, but it's been no secret who Flex is aiming to displace in the market, and at least specs-wise, it seems like this is sort of a, yeah, we've got one of those, but we'll do you one extra sort of thing. At least we think so. Let me explain. Milwaukee is rated 1100 foot-pounds max torque. Flex is saying, how about 1200 plus 100 more? Or at least that's what retailers are advertising. Milwaukee says 1500 foot-pounds nut busting, and the half-inch Flex is showing 1600 foot-pounds. M18 says, well, hold up. If you buy the kit with the 6 amp hour forged battery, well, then we're up to 1600 foot-pounds as well. Flex is saying, oh yeah, well, buy the 6 amp hour stacked lithium kit, and ours is 1700 foot-pounds now. I swear a couple years from now we're going to be talking about 2000 foot-pound half-inch high torque, somehow transmitting these through a half-inch drive, and all that for $249, which is what I feel all high torques used to be not too long ago. $50 less now though than the Gen 3 M18. Flex is finally selling these bare as well, a welcome change. And that $249, well, we spent that instead on a 6 amp hour stacked lithium starter kit from Ohio Power Tool, which through September you get a free tool which somehow included this not even out yet half-inch or even their 3/4 inch new Flex high torque. No sponsorship, no affiliation, just bought this based on a viewer pointing it out to us, and $249 as a stacked lithium kit. I mean, if these specs are true, I don't know how you beat that right now. Going to product tag it here if that deal still exists. But all of those impressive one-upmanship specs might have all changed or somehow got lost in translation somewhere, because now that it's released on Flex's actual site, it's saying 1100 tightening and 1500 nut busting, or matching the Milwaukee spec for spec. And that's for the tool with the 6 amp hour stacked lithium. Retailers now still show 1200 and 16/1700. What we do think happened is this: everyone might be showing the spec for the 3/4 inch tool for both items. When buying one of these, I noticed that the 3/4 inch had the same exact specs as the half-inch, which would be a first. Either way, it's either plus 100 everywhere over Milwaukee or basically matching it exactly. You can imagine who we're going to be putting it up against today. And the Flex is about 0.2 inches longer and half a pound over that Milwaukee. But yeah, in person, it does seem small for a high torque, smaller than expected, and a full inch shorter than a DeWalt DCF900. It also has a steel hang hook incorporated into the body, which is sort of a new one for me, and it has a battery tray and entire tool head that are designed to wiggle and, well, for lack of a better word, flex to mitigate vibration. They previously called this shock shield in a way to isolate your grip from the tools impacting and the battery shaking. Last time it did very well. Let's see how well it does today at everything from 5 amp hour to stacked lithium to the largest lithium pouch power tool battery on the market, their 10 amp hour. Up first, we have the 5-second working torque test, and Milwaukee with the standard XC 5.0 attached as a target here makes for, even in this trim, a monstrous 646 foot-pounds. Here's the new Flex FX1472 with its standard 5 amp hour battery as well. $478 foot-pounds, that's not a lot for really any half-inch high torque these days. We did 3 runs as usual, same sort of spot each time. That is when we noticed that the 5 amp hour battery was 1 bar low, which was harder to fix than you might think, otherwise I wouldn't be bringing this up. It'll no longer want to charge from its current 3 bars back up to 4. We have a backup 5 amp hour battery, but this one has some black shmoo let loose inside from their year 1 Flex batteries that did do this. And so we haven't been using it, but it turns out this also does the same thing now. We dynoed both batteries with no change, can't charge them further, and even a benchtop DC power supply won't deliver them past their current 23 volts or so at any real pace. Now we do some stupid stuff around here with batteries, of course. We've written off at least one of our 5 amp hour packs from this sort of activity, a tool that's not made for 24 volts, but this was a rather new, not abused pack that we just got from a kit recently. So yeah, we just got this new impact a day or two ago from the time you're watching this, so we press on with the 6 amp hour stacked lithium. The battery that may or may not increase the torque rating of this tool. Let's see. Here it is with a very happy to charge to full 6 amp hour stacked lithium. Our second one, and we've never had any problems with these. $563 foot-pounds, so an upgrade for sure, but still nowhere near that Milwaukee this far into testing. Let's remember this is against an XC5.0. Here's with their own 6 amp hour stacked pouch type thing under the forge. 718 foot-pounds, an all-out record on the channel, even surpassing the DCF 961 and ½ inch. It is a monster. We do often double check these sort of things, like throwing an M18 back on the dyno in the same test here. With an XC 6.0 high output, it's making 691 foot-pounds right after that flex, matches our records and right between the XC 5.0 and forge. It does make sense. All right, let's head over to reverse. Maybe the flex prefers things here, 6 amp hour stacked lithium from here on out. Let's see how she gets on. $775 foot-pounds and a lot to unpack here. First, yeah, it likes reverse a lot more. Happy to see that. It also, sort of like the DCF 961, from what we can tell, is a bit less punchy down low and then has a sort of turbo motor setting that it jumps into a few seconds into impacting, maybe 4 to 5 seconds from what we can tell, but not always as consistent or even advertised like that DeWalt is now. And that ramp up does shake things up and oddly start making it feel more like your typical DeWalt as well, a lot like a DCF 900. Socket sticking, shuddering, that hurts its top score here even across 4 to 5 tests, some of them aborted. Even for instance in a smooth run here, no locking up on the socket, no jittering and skipping about, but also ramped up a lot less mid-run for just 747 foot-pounds. It's odd, not sure if it's programmed in, but this dyno curve and score we think here reflects all of this, so its median run here stays. Let's see the best it can offer. When it ramps up and you can really let it rip, let's give it some runway for our 15-second best case scenario test. BCS is always the best we can get out of a tool, and by not a huge margin, but some, that was with a different socket we thought might help with reverberations or resonance, but did have to recalibrate the dyno and double check with the M18 before doing so with that change. So didn't really solve the pops and clicks and fighting with the socket like DeWalt's do, but in a test length with the same socket that we used with a Milwaukee that hit 920 before it, we made a full 926, as you can see coming in at the end here, just able to do it. So less area under the curve, but still we're talking against the top 1, 2 ½ inch impacts on Earth here. The box says it can match those M18 specs, and I'm inclined to think they had an M18 around for the purpose of hitting that same sort of number. Well done. Look at the ocean of gap between these two here. This represents the largest change from a Gen 1 to a Gen 2 impact we've ever seen on the channel, from a larger tool and a $299 kit-only option to a $249 Gen 2 available bare. You'll love to see it. That shock shield from the first gen though, it might have met its match. Maybe it would be miles worse without it, or maybe it's exaggerating things with the impacting going on in this thing, we don't know, but this is getting a hefty 8.25 wrist-breaking score. The last one was a Cadillac with a 5 out of 10. You'd need a bolt tight enough for it to ramp up and go wild, otherwise it is noticeably smooth, under 600 foot-pounds or so. Maybe not an issue for many people in that case, but above it, you're going to notice that vibration for sure. Let's tear down this tool, then see what a 10 amp hour can do just for fun. After using an impact this much, I'm often not impressed with how tight many of the fasteners are. That's not the case with this flex. Each screw is quite tight, and the hammer housing screws are much larger and each have quite a bit of Loctite used as well. Everything took actual impacting to take apart on this tool. And this is where you start to see where that extra weight over the M18 comes from. Everything is metal. The whole front hammer cover is aluminum, but that's pretty normal. The entire head, as in the motor housing, gear case housing, is also aluminum. That's not very normal. A Milwaukee comes apart completely in half, including the head. This taken apart is simply revealing the soft durometer isolator through holes, and that's the handle coming in half, not the aluminum head. The rear cooling fan, also aluminum, which you rarely see anymore. The tool also has a sort of tinny metal sound down low when used as well. It sounds even metallic. In between the hammer and motor housings are also steel plate triangles to clamp that the bolts go through. It does seem overbuilt. The planetaries are in a double shear and larger than usual, though maybe a bit thinner in that dimension than the Milwaukee. And the hammer assembly weighs in at 2 pounds, 6 ounces. 2 ounces heavier than the Gen 3 M18, but those move the bearing off of the hammer side and put it in the tool, dropping that weight. So we think apples to apples, we believe these are about the same size and weight for a hammer assembly. This is a tool we gave very little downtime to, heating it up quite a lot really during testing because past Flex tools have been mad at us when hot. Not this one. It seems like a carefully designed tool and even uses a bellows on the trigger, which we rarely see anymore. It's going to get a lot of work done for you, we feel. Let's see if it has more on top. Here's the 10 amp hour stacked lithium for all the beans. The largest stacked lithium in the line is, well, it's going to get a high score here for those bragging rights, but along the way not make a huge difference. Certainly not one you're going to notice, but it is good enough for 939 foot-pounds, which is a ton. It belongs in that next gen of high torques we're seeing near the top these days. Let's see if the leaderboard agrees. Its dyno runs earn it points in the form of 56, 78, and 93 points. Definitely earning things at the end here. It's both a little bit slower to kick in, and you'll have to see very tough bolts to start to see where this tool dominates over most of those listed here. At 7.8 inches long, that's a lot of torque, 118.7 foot-pounds per inch, indicating that this is a very modern effort in the design. 1100 foot-pounds max torque, according to their website at least. It made as much as 85% of that for us today. Pretty good. And $249, a good price in helping to slow down the trend of $300 plus half-inch high torques. It's awarded with 55.8 points for that effort, totaling 486.5, placing it exactly where it is listed here in fourth across everything and third in cordless. When you consider that a larger, heavier Gen 1 with this new fourth place entry is bumped all the way down to 40th, yeah, that's a pretty good update. All aluminum motor, gearbox, and impact housing. These sort of numbers for anyone on or considering Flex, this is certainly quite an upgrade compared to what was tops from the brand as recent as last week. We prefer stacked lithium at this point. We think the tools do as well. They have a 3.5 amp hour for a lighter tool overall, and the 6 amp hour stacked lithium can be found for what seems like a decent deal these days. One of the first high torques to come out since the Gen 3 M18 that really tries to take on the tool on all fronts. We're talking size and power and features, and the largest upgrade from a Gen 1 to Gen 2 we've ever measured. Can't be mad at that. We make episodes every Friday, same time, same place. Click some stuff below if you want to stop by and kick the tires every now and again, and thanks for watching.